I will call this Tigard City Council and Local Contract Review Board meeting to order. Deputy City Recorder Raimundo, please call roll.
Council President Hu.
Here.
Mayor Lube.
Here.
Youth Councilor Manini.
Here.
Councilor Schlack.
Here.
Councilor Wolf.
Here.
And Councilor Shaw is excused.
Thank you. If everyone will stand and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, everyone. Does City Council or our city teammates have any non-agenda items this evening to add?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the community and my teammates. Just want to highlight the additional ordinance that we're bringing forward tonight, the emergency ordinance related to camping in our public spaces. So.
Excellent. Thank you. And I believe that is being added to item 8. Is it item 8? Yes. Okay. We have 2 proclamations today. The first proclamation is for the month of August, and it is to honor Immunization Awareness Month. It's observed every August to raise awareness about why vaccines are important for people of all ages and how they can help prevent serious, sometimes deadly diseases and illnesses. We also have a proclamation to honor the National Black Business Month for the month of August as well. It's observed as National Black Business Month, an annual observance that began nearly 20 years ago to highlight the remarkable achievements, contributions, milestones, and historical progress of Black businesses and entrepreneurs across the United States. If you'd like to see the full text of both of these proclamations, it's available on the website, and then in August they will be displayed at City Hall. Moving on to the next item is public comment. Anyone wishing to call in now, please do so. To get into the queue, the phone number is 503-966-4101, or if you're wishing to comment by video, please also log on. And we have City Manager Reimer for follow-up to previous public comment.
Thanks, Mayor. So last week we had 1 written comment about safe lots, 2 in-person comments about safe lots, and 1 phone-in comment about safe lots. All community members have received a response from Kim Mazel, who's here. And just as a side note, we also had our phone listener from the Scouts last week. So.
And he listened through the whole meeting. He was here.
Very impressive.
It was impressive. It was awesome. It's fun when they come here because sometimes they come in person to witness the meeting, and so it's super fun to have them here. Or they've joined me at different events around the city because they have to come and ask me questions and stuff for their badges. It's pretty fun. So written public comment that was received Monday by noon. We had 16 safe lots comment and 1 comment regarding camping at the public library. And we have in-person public comment today. Deputy City Recorder Raimundo, we have 1 person signed up. We have a 2-minute timer. So if Mr. Vang can have that timer set up, excellent. And then Mr. Sean Murphy, please come on up.
So my comment tonight is on homelessness in Tigard, and I'm here to voice concerns and to ask my fellow citizens also pay attention to this very delicate issue, and to implore City Council to take caution in handling this issue. It tends to be very complex and leads to lots of unintended consequences, kind of as we're seeing with the emergency ordinance that we're talking about tonight. We're moving ahead with the Safe Parking Program. Tigard citizens have expressed concerns around this program that it could lead to myriad negative impacts to the safety of neighborhoods surrounding the program, and also potentially increase the homeless population in Tigard. These are outcomes that are directly opposite of council's goals. So I want to implore the importance of methodically pursuing statistics and making sure that these programs are serving their intended purpose. Couple of key things I wanted to point out. Currently, the city-stated metrics that surround the homeless population in Tigard are nebulous, so it makes it really difficult to define what success is and whether or not these programs are actually reducing homelessness in Tigard. Also, calls to police versus police reports that are filed tend to be treated as different animals. Oftentimes, state laws will be a little bit more lenient and calls that may not result in reports can still negatively impact the safety of surrounding neighborhoods. And then also there's a bit of confusion around how Tigard's limited police resources will effectively enforce time, place, and manner ordinances. We often compare Tigard to Beaverton and Redmond as a comparison, but there's some disparities there in the sense that Redmond's many miles from a major metropolitan area, and the Central Oregon point-in-time estimates for homeless population are about 1/5 of what the Tri-County areas are for the same period. Beaverton is a city that's twice the size of Tigard with a significantly higher police budget. So those are some disparities to point out. Just to conclude, again, I want to implore City Council to make a solid and outsized effort to gather some statistics that are tied directly to the council goals. And I want to beg my fellow citizens to please pay attention to this issue and voice their concerns. City Council and local government, you guys have a tough job, and it makes it infinitely harder when you don't get any feedback from their citizens. So just want to point that out, and thank you for taking this on.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Mr. Vang, are there any phone callers in the queue or anyone wishing to comment by video today?
We have one caller for phone in.
Okay.
His name is Michael Austin, and I'll put him in the live room.
Excellent. If you could also reset public comment, please, Mr. Vang. All right. Welcome, caller, to Tigard City Council. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Michael Austin. Many of you know me. I'm actually the development manager at Just Compassion. I just wanted to voice one of my concerns about the amendment to the time, place, and manner ordinance. And what I would propose to the council is a change in the timeline from the effective date of July 29th to August 9th. This will allow your local CBOs to effectively translate this ordinance to the houseless population and to those currently camping at the library. Pushing the date to August 9th, your local CBOs can also more effectively transition individuals from the library to the additional spots at the Public Works lawn, while additionally developing a more comprehensive strategy, including housing, shelter options for these individuals. Asking someone to move their current place of home in less than a week is difficult, and by pushing the date to August 9th, we can avoid many of the issues that will most likely arise. I appreciate your time and consideration.
Thank you. And we now have the city manager report with City Manager Reimer.
Thanks again, Mayor. Well, good evening again, Mayor, councilors, members of the community, and my teammates. Just a few things. First, it was a busy weekend last weekend. We've had a lot of events, as you know, over the course of the last month. And I want to start by saying thanks to the many teammates and community members that were at our Public Works Day and Emergency Preparedness event on Friday evening at Cook Family Park. We had a great attendance there. We had all our different equipment out, as you saw, many members from our CERT community there, having conversations, and many others, so I recognize that. We also had a Ladybug Run on Saturday, so thanks to the organizer of that event. Also thanks to our Public Works team. Many of them were helping with setup of one event, and then the next day they're helping again with another. And sometimes it's nice to recognize the work that our Public Works team is doing out there, as well as our police team during some of these major events. So kudos to them. I just have one quick update announcements from the library, and this is about an upcoming program. We will be welcoming Native American flutist Peter Ollie for the Songs from the Heart, a concert on native flutes. That'll be on Sunday, July 28th at 3 p.m. Ollie will share the wide-ranging sounds of the wooden flute, spotlighting instruments from the Middle East, Scandinavia, as well as many North American nations. So another interesting event, and one more way we're connecting with our community. And that concludes my comments for tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for City Manager Reimer? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda, which is used for routine items, including minutes and approval of contracts or intergovernmental agreements. Information on each item is available on the city's website in the packet for this meeting. Items may be enacted in one motion without separate discussion, and council members may request that an item be removed by motion for discussion and separate action. I do know there is an interest in pulling the professional auditing services. Did you want to discuss it, or did you want to completely pull it and vote on it separately?
Thanks, Mayor. I have a couple questions. I just need clarification, so I don't know if that warrants. pulling out.
Yeah, I don't think we have to pull it.
Okay.
So Assistant Finance Director McClung, if you want to come on up, I know we have some questions, or whoever on the team wants to join us, Finance Director King. There's been a robust amount of questions regarding the new audit, and I also wanted to give them a few minutes for just the community in general to sort of summarize the questions that we've had and perhaps answer them, and then you can proceed with your questions. Council President. All right.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, Eric Kang, Finance Director, and joining me is Assistant Finance Director Keith McClung. I did want to share a little bit about the process, just to kind of share some of the due diligence that went on for the audit selection process. As you may know, the selection of an auditor is a little bit unique from the contracting process, as the authority for the selection of the audit is determined by the with the audit committee. So just to share how this evaluation went. So there are 2 audit committee representatives that were selected to participate in the evaluation panel. And so the evaluation panel included 2 members of the audit committee, including the audit committee chair, myself, Assistant Finance Director McClung, and our Finance Operations Manager. And so the evaluation panel were responsible for evaluating the solicitation document that was posted publicly on the newspaper and also sent to all the different firms that we requested proposals from. That included also evaluating the criteria and the scoring requirements, which included a criteria based on, let me see here, firm qualifications and project team, project understanding and approach, the project timeline, and then the price. And then from there, we did reach out to 10 different CPA firms, and only 2 firms responded to our request for proposals. The evaluation panel, we met on 3 separate occasions and to conduct our own due diligence. That included reviewing the proposal, checking references, getting detailed clarification on what was included on the proposals. And so based on the evaluation criterias, the evaluation panel did score Moss Adams, who is being brought forward as the highest score. And based on our public contracting rules, that means we are required to make our selection based on those scores. And I did want to address some of the concerns around some of the price increase, because I know that is a substantial increase, and we were surprised by the amount. And so we did attempt to negotiate a price with the firm. However, they did cite several reasons for the price increase. I think one of the big reasons that they cited was in the past 2 to 3 years, there were several new accounting pronouncements that added significant amount of hours to their work for testing. They are also anticipating at least 5 more within the next 2 to 3 years. That's going to add more hours to their testing. And additionally, they were locked into a contract that only allowed them to have a 3% price increase while we were under a contract with them. So all the additional test work that they had to do, the inflation from the pandemic, those are all locked in at a 3% price increase. So I do suspect that some of their losses during that time might be built into this new proposal. Additionally, they did mention Tyler, the implementation of a new ERP system, as approximately a 20% increase in the hours for the work. And the implementation schedule, we're anticipating over the next several years, this is going to add additional work to their plate. And just to kind of give you an example, we have our new finance module that was rolled out in October. So that is going to be a crossover year. So they're going to have to do testing in our old ERP system and our new system for this next upcoming audit. For this next fiscal year, we're rolling out utility billing and our enterprise licensing system, which means they'll also have to do testing for 2 different systems in this next fiscal year. And then if everything goes perfectly, which in fiscal year 26, it's unlikely that everything will be perfect. There's still additional ramp-up time and a learning curve in the 3rd year of the audit. So they're still continue to expect there to be additional hours of testing to go through the duration of the contract for 3 years. Now, at the end of 3 years, there's potential that prices could go down. That is being very optimistic, in my opinion. However, we are able to renegotiate fees at that point because the contract is for 3 years with an option to extend. But ultimately, at the end of the day, there are fewer and fewer firms that are doing municipal government audits, just from the lack of bids that we received. And then also, it's well known industry-wide that there are more and more firms, even a firm that's local to here, Marina and Company, they have completely dropped doing audits of municipal governments, citing profitability, hard to retain staff. There's a myriad of reasons for firms that are dropping out of this industry. So there aren't a lot of options, and so from the lack of competitive bids, this is ultimately where the evaluation panel landed. And with that, we're open to answer any questions.
Thanks. Council President Hu?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. It's really, really helpful. So just to be clear, I'm glad you were shocked because the new price will be double of what previous contract was for. And I guess my question for you is, assuming under perfect scenario that in a year 3 we completely transfer to this new system, I guess I'm just still wondering why it will continue to be this 20% increase, since theoretically we will not have to test the old system anymore, so there should be price saving there. So can you just explain a little bit more why, even after we completely transfer to the new system, we may still see price increase?
I do want to highlight, this is a projection, so I could be completely wrong. I've been wrong before, so this is just from my perspective. When you have an audit and you change ERP systems, your work doesn't necessarily, as from an auditor's perspective, doesn't necessarily get easier. It just is different. On the city teammate side, we would expect operational efficiencies. However, from an auditor's perspective, they're still doing testing. And so rather than testing like papers, they're testing electronic records. So the type of work that they do is different. And then as the city is relying more and more on automated and electronic controls and operating efficiencies, the type of testing requires specialized expertise from IT-specific auditors, which also charge a higher rate. And so, I would expect that the work would continue at a higher level as the work changes. But again, the goal is for higher efficiencies from the city operational effectiveness. Doesn't necessarily translate to auditors having to do less work.
One more question. So you mentioned this is for 3 years with option to renew at 4 and 5. Do you expect to, do you think that you will go out for year 4 to seek additional bid? Or do you think this is a lock-in? So what does that mean, option? Can you tell the public?
I think we'd want to weigh that with input from the audit committee on where their appetite is for going out for bid. Or like I mentioned, there's not a lot of firms that are continuing to do this work. If we went out for bid, we could also run into another effect of having higher prices coming in too. So, there's always a risk when you go out for bid. But again, this is in the future, and it's really hard to predict at this point in time. But we'd want to weigh in, have that discussion with the audit committee with their feedback.
Yeah, I think 3 years out, the world could completely change, and auditing could look, or the outlook of accountants and all those things look different. So I think it's dangerous to predict what we think may happen. But it's always nice to have the option to keep it locked in. We chose to exercise that option in the middle of the pandemic to go ahead and extend the contract. So yeah, I want to say it's dangerous, I think, to have them predict and say, what are you going to do in 3 years, where I can't tell you what I'm going to do next month, right? So I think that's just a dangerous sort of thing, but it's always good for the city to have an option depending upon the things going on. Councillor Wolf.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to both of you. And Director Kang, I appreciate, because I too had questions about it and what I appreciated in the response. I remember the audit committee and our conversations and having this Tyler testing component is something that we valued greatly. And that's an important component to ensure that we're doing the right work for the city. And so my understanding, if I'm reading this correctly, your response is that level of testing wasn't going to be part of that bid from the other competitor. And I think it's a really important component. So while none of us want to pay more, I think it's really important that this piece of investment on how we do our accounting and tracking is really important. So I understand the value of it. And so just wanted to acknowledge that and thank you for that.
Thanks. Are there any more questions on the audit contract specifically? All right. Thank you both. I have a question regarding the pavement management rehabilitation project. Do we have someone online to be able to answer that? Or I guess 2 questions.
I believe Nicole is online. I don't see her up there. And Rosie's here, so we can start with Rosie. And I'm here as well as Assistant City Manager Tritch. So.
Yeah, so my question is, my first question is generally the contracts we typically sort of look at earlier in the year. Is this contract covering services that we're expecting to be rendered in this year and get started quickly, or next year?
I do see Nicole has come on.
Okay.
If you would want to answer around the scope of, it's for the pavement management plan. But yes, this is, if Nicole hasn't been able to jump on yet, this is for calendar year 2024 work. So our payment management plan work does fall on the summer months, so within the calendar year, and falls into the fiscal year 2025 CIP budget.
Excellent. So we're expecting them to get to work quickly
Yes.
while there's still some good sunshine left. Perfect. My other question is, and this will probably be specifically for Nicole, because I think it's probably a little too in the weeds for the specific contract. We've recently had some challenges with a community member, a street of ours in our community that was going to be slurry sealed, and there was just not great communication when they were made aware that the road was going to sort of close for the day and be slurry sealed, and then that didn't happen. And it's a challenging road that doesn't necessarily have sidewalks and those sorts of things. So people took the days off of work anticipating not being able to leave, and it was just a real inconvenience to them, and they didn't have good information on what the new date was going to be or any of those sorts of things. So going back with the city teammates back and forth on sort of proper awareness, and considering this includes potential slurry seal, I'm just wondering if we have added in communication language to make sure, because I think it's super fair for a community to be made aware timely if there is going to be a change, what the requirements for our vendor is going to be. If that has changed from our standard communication, considering the information we've had in the last week or two.
Yeah, so I can talk to the program and how we notify our residents. So originally we have the Corex signs. They're the 24 by 36 kind of plastic signs that go up in the neighborhoods. And those go up a week prior. And then we have our no park signs for the towing zones, and that goes up 2 days prior. And all of those have the date of the roadway closure. And then we have door hangers the night before the roadway closure. And this is where, unfortunately, it gets difficult, is if there's any delay in the project, and that happened with Watkins. The delay gets notified basically through those same signs, if you will. Then the no park signs get updated, the Corex signs get updated, And then our website, excuse me, is also updated with the delay. And then we push that street or those streets that get delayed to the end of the schedule. So we give them as much time as we can to then plan.
So when do we make them aware, though? Because I think the frustration for them, and rightfully so, is they were prepared and now they're not sure, because even the street sweeper came through that morning. And I think there's just a gap between people seeing it not happen that day and then perhaps having to wait until a week or two before whatever the next schedule date is, or search out the information themselves, when we should be, in my opinion, reaching out to them to let them know that. And I don't know, maybe if this is a scenario in which we can leverage our code red or something like that, or have communications with them that pushes that out that day of, hey, the schedule has changed. But I think in this day and age, like we need to get better on that, because I'm just thinking of my scenario. I mean, my previous neighborhood, it was slurry sealed a couple of years ago, and it was still sort of disjarring. I wasn't sure exactly when everything was going to happen, and I consider myself fairly informed in the city. So I think there's a missing step where we can improve communication, and I don't know if that falls to the city or if that falls to the vendor.
Right. So I guess to the communications point, we push everybody to the website the best we can. The website has the most up-to-date information, and it's, our standard Tigard, www.tigard-or.gov and /paving. So we try to make it as easy as possible. We have had Code Red used in the past. Marissa was our communications manager at the time, and when we did Code Red, it gives you a report of all of the things that get pushed back or they don't get received, because for some reason that information just never gets updated in the system. And so we were only reaching maybe 40%, if my memory serves me correct, of the numbers that were in the system. And so it didn't, at the time, seem like that was a good way of communicating. We last year used Tigard Road's Twitter account, and even then, we just got basically spammed with a bunch of advertisements for some reason. So totally open to how best to notify people. Our website also has our frequently asked questions, which kind of gives you the rundown from what to expect for the day. One thing that happened on Watkins specifically, and this was not it wasn't supposed to happen this way, but the contractor was barricading the roadways off prior to the work being done. And we have never done that in the past. And so that was fixed right away. So I told the contractor, you cannot barricade a roadway that's not being worked on. And so, residents should be able to have access as long as we're not working on it. Because the slurry process is only, a cul-de-sac will take them maybe a half an hour, and then it is just barricaded to dry.
So the door hangers that you hang the day before, does that include specific language around if there is an unforeseen day of delay, this is where you go for more information? If not, it would be my recommendation to add that language specifically.
Yes, it does. It pushes you to the website. So we can always be more clear with bold print and make that more front and center.
Yeah, I think, anything we can do to draw attention, because, I probably hate door hangers as much as the rest of them. The other thing I would say is I can appreciate feeling like 40% is probably a failure, but if 40% is successful, I think most of our communities talk to each other, and if one of our neighbors got information, you can expect that information is going to spread like wildfire through the neighborhood. And so I would just ask that we try to be more proactive proactive instead of sort of what feels passive, even though we're updating the website and asking people to come to us to push out information as much as we can to the community. Because again, I forgot to update my phone number or whatever it is, but my neighbor got it, my neighbor's gonna text me or put it in the neighborhood Facebook page of, hey, here's the update. And I think there's certain value in that, maybe 40% feels like a failure, but it's, in my opinion, it's not. That means 40% got reached that can then help spread the news too. And I see Assistant City Manager Trich has her hand up.
Thank you very much, Council. Assistant City Manager Trich, dialing in from Northern Tigard. I just wanted to let you know we appreciate the feedback, and I will be following up with the team to take some of your suggestions and see if we can develop a communication strategy that is more forthcoming in offering information. And I also am appreciative of Nicole and the team for being so responsive, addressing contractor issues as soon as they're identified. But we'll take a relook at how we can keep our community members informed.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Nicole. I appreciate it, and thank you as well. Normally consent agenda is so quick, and it was quite robust today. And I did forget to say we have a pipeline renewal and replacement program, professional auditing services, and pavement management rehabilitation projects. I mean, the pipeline renewal may be feeling a little sad that no additional questions have been asked, if anybody has any. None? Okay. I would entertain a motion.
Mayor Lube, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Seeing none, the consent agenda is unanimously approved as presented by vote of the council present. The next item on our agenda is a resolution thanking Ron Royce and John Chamberlain. And we have Ron Royce with us today, and I'd love for you to come up and take a seat so our community can see you while we talk about this item, or maybe just say hi and introduce yourself. That would be greatly appreciated.
Hi. Well, thank you, Mayor and council members. For 38 years, my involvement with the city, believe it or not, was not that involved. I mean, I basically turned in the paperwork with the required paperwork, and off we went for the last 38 years. This year was different because of the drone show. And I found out what a wonderful city staff you have. It was mind-boggling to me. Steve Reimer, your city administrator, I dealt with Public Works, everybody. And it was amazing to me how good everybody worked and how well they worked together. And if you decide you ever want to have a party with 10 or 12,000 people, I suggest you get city staff involved because it was incredible. So I appreciate it and really appreciate the proclamation too. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I wanted to bring the proclamation forward and just really thank you for everything that you've done for our Tigard community. You say that you just filled in, the permits and those sorts of things, but the work that you did to put on an event that people say they've gone to year after year, it's creating those memories and that sense of community. And it was hopping.
It was.
This recent one for sure.
And what I'm happy about too is the people that are taking over from this point forward, I'm very comfortable with, and I think it's going to continue to be a great show, and thanks to your support, Council, I hope it goes on for another 38 years.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. As I stated, we have this wonderful resolution for you. Anyone who wants to see it, it's available on the website. But it is a resolution thanking Ron Royce and John Chamberlain for 38 years instead of 36. So can we actually manually, thank you, Jesse, of spectacular entertainment for the Tigard community by planning and hosting the old-fashioned 4th of July fireworks show. Great. So we will get you an official resolution. We will mail it to you, and I have some city pins for you and John that I'd love to give you just as a little token of our appreciation. It's not much, but maybe you can look at it fondly.
Thank you, and thank you for my 15 minutes of fame.
Oh, my apologies. Yes, Council President Hu.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Just want to quickly thank Ron. I had a pleasure meeting with you and your wife at the 4th of July celebration last year, and I sat with you at the Shining Star table. So it was such a pleasure getting to know you, and thank you so much for your service. And I just want to have a quick plug for your podcast that you did with our city, Talking Tiger. If anybody's interested, Ron gave a history of the 4th of July fireworks show, and it's just amazing how the firework celebration gets started, and how amazing and how transformative the entertainment has become. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for bringing it up. In the resolution, it does acknowledge, and I think it's important to bring up, that the Tiger Chamber of Commerce's Shining Stars from the Heart Volunteer of the Year Awards this year did go to Ron Royce and John Chamberlain, just in recognition of all of your service, and it's just so incredibly well-deserved. So I'm glad you're getting recognition for all of your volunteering in Tigard. Does anyone else have anything they want to say, or perhaps to approve or make a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 24-20.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the Deputy City Recorder read the number and title of the resolution?
Resolution number 24-20, a resolution thanking Ron Royce and John Chamberlain for 38 years of spectacular entertainment for the Tigard community by planning and hosting the old-fashioned 4th of July fireworks show.
Thank you. And we will go to Youth Councilor Minany for an advisory vote.
Aye.
Thank you. All of those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is adopted by unanimous vote of the Council President. Thank you so much. The next item on our agenda tonight is the photo enforcement vendor contract. I wish I could tell you it's just as exciting and fun, but I believe Lieutenant Erickson's going to make his attempt to make it just as fun. Did I set the bar a little high?
You did,
okay.
Yeah. We'll see what we can do. Thank you, Mayor and Councils. For the record, Lieutenant Lee Erickson with the Tigard Police Department. Here tonight to talk about the photo enforcement program and our recommendation for a contract. Just as a reminder, this is our third conversation. We started this in October of last year with a brief snapshot of the program as it existed, shared some statistical data, what we're seeing workload-wise as well as crash data-wise. We returned in November to recommend that we continue to use the systems. What we're seeing with the crash data was trending in the right direction for us to say that they're working, and we wanted to continue to use them, and that we should engage in a competitive bidding process to identify a new contract going forward for the next 5 years. Our current contract expires in October this year after a 1-year extension to the original 5-year contract, and it gave us an opportunity to see what's out there. It's been 5 years since we did this. We've learned a lot, and so we wanted to see what was available to us and see what happened. In March, the request for proposal went live, and we had 5 firms submit written proposals to that RFP. Of those, 3 were invited for a in-person presentation based upon a review of their proposals, their written proposals by staff. Of the 3, we've recognized and identified Vera Mobility as the company that we would like to work with going forward in the future. We issued a notice of intent to award, and subsequent to that, we negotiated a contract, and we believe we have a solid contract to carry us forward for the next 5 years. So with that, I will be happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Thank you. Thank you for the work that you've done to bring this forward. Questions? Yeah. Councilor Wolf?
Thank you so much. And I think just the follow-up, and this was part of my questions that I had sent in advance, is just talk a little bit maybe about the priorities. I appreciate the detail in the AIS that kind of breaks down the categories. But if you could just kind of highlight maybe something that really drives why this is the best decision for the city as we go forward and what they'll bring to the table for us. if that makes sense.
It does make sense, and thank you for the question. Verra Mobility has significant history in working in Oregon and specifically in this region with nearby agencies to provide their services and has done so for many years. That coupled with the fact that when they came in person to provide their presentation, they were very professional. They were very direct. They answered all of our questions thoroughly without any difficulty. And their written proposal was also drafted to go point on point to each of our requests for how we want the system to operate going forward.
Council President Hu, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so if we did go forward with this new vendor, it was mentioned that there will be a switchover period where there will be 3 months without any red light photon radar. Do you expect the Tiger Police to switch its traffic enforcement pattern to compensate for the lack of that for 3 months? I don't want to advertise it, but
sure.
So I'm just curious if you're going to change your traffic enforcement pattern at that time.
Yes, thank you. So our plan is, to the extent possible, we will stagger the implementation at each of the intersections. So we currently have 3 intersections. We're going to continue to operate these systems at those 3 intersections. So we won't have to take them all down and then wait and then put new ones up in that 3 months. We'll take one down, do all the building while the other ones continue to operate. So it'll be this staggered approach as we transition over to the new contract. But to the extent possible, we'll also supplement with more visual patrols in the area. These intersections were specifically identified in the initial program because of their difficulty for us to apply officers at that intersection to do traffic monitoring and traffic enforcement.
Thank you. But you should have some idea when the peak hour for traffic problems, right? It's for each intersection. So
indeed, we do.
So public be warned. Don't think you'll get off easy.
My question is around the 3 months. So is it 3 months total, taking them all down at different times, or is it 3 months at a time for each area that we're going to take it down?
So all of the written proposals and Verra's included estimated it would take about 3 months from when we sign the contract and start and the contract goes into effect to when the system will be up and running. So there's a lot of work that has to go on in the background with setting up the data systems, setting up the actual hardware that's going to get installed, and then getting permits, doing site reviews, all that kind of stuff. So 3 months is essentially a worst case scenario. We'll have, like I said, we'll have time where it's staggered over the installation times, but 3 months is generally a worst case scenario for it to be back online.
Gotcha. Okay. So I guess my other question is just trying to think of when we sign the contract, does that mean the other vendor officially ceases, or is there an opportunity to have a little overlap while the one vendor is building up and doing some of those hardware things before they actually physically like take things down? Or is it once we sign the contract, like the new people take over?
No, so there'll be a time where both contracts are active.
Okay, excellent. Those are my questions. Yeah, Youth Councilor Mainini.
This is more just a curiosity. If 3 months is the worst case scenario, what would the best case scenario be?
0. No, realistically speaking, you can expect an intersection would be down for at least a couple weeks. One, to take down the old systems, remove all of the installed infrastructure that is already in place, and then time for the new infrastructure to be built. If memory serves, when we first put these into place, it seemed like it was about a month for them to build out the intersection from the day that they started on site to the day that it was operating. Mm-hmm. But that included all of the underground work that they had to do, which hopefully we won't have to replicate to the same extent.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you, Councilor Stock?
Yeah, I have a sort of a follow-up question. It says on the online agenda the revenue loss is estimated between $225,000 and $375,000, which was not factored into the $1.5 million of estimated revenue. Would that correction need to be adjusted in our budget through a supplemental budget? And that may be a question for the finance team that can be answered at a later point. I'm just curious about how that flows into our budget.
Yeah, in the police department, my focus is the day-to-day operations and administration of the program. I'm sensitive to the needs for the finance and all that kind of stuff. I would defer to finance or to the chief if they have a response for that.
Mr. Kang, twice in one evening. Welcome up.
The short answer would be yes. We'd have to, we'll evaluate what the actual impacts are, and then at a future time, if there are any sort of significant. So the number that was provided was also an estimate too. So we'll do an evaluation once we get some actual figures in place, and there may be potential for a future supplemental.
Thank you. Any additional questions that have been spurred? Okay. See, I think it's exciting just from the discussion that we've had that this vendor seems more customer service oriented and better responsiveness. So I am excited for the police department to have a better partner in this program for sure.
As are we.
Yeah. Yeah.
If there's a,
I mean, setting this up during COVID and everything else that happened was a real challenge.
It was, for sure. And like I said, it's definitely been a learning experience for us. Ways we can do things better, and hopefully ways our contractor can do better.
Yeah. Any additional comments or a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve. I move for the approval of the photo enforcement vendor systems and related services contract as presented.
I second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will Youth Councilor Mainini please provide an advisory vote?
Aye.
Thank you. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is adopted by unanimous vote of the council president. Present. I'm just making up words today. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
The next item on our agenda is an ordinance amending TMC 7.80 to prohibit camping on hardscape surfaces. I'm going to open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to testify by phone, video, or in person, the sign up is at the back of the room. You can dial to get in now to the queue. It's 503-966-4101. And if you are wishing to comment by video, please also log in now. Program Manager Ezell.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am Kim Ezell, Program Manager for Strategic Initiatives. And just a little bit of background on the ordinance before you this evening. This was drafted in response to Council's direction on the June 11th Council meeting. At the June 11th Council meeting, teammates presented that there have been some conflicts occurring on some of the hardscape surfaces on our grounds, including limiting accessibility to city services and conflicts with some more premium spaces that were being used for camping. This direction came from Council and is part of our continued effort to refine the time, place, manner ordinance that was passed a year ago in order to make it work for all of our community. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. City Attorney Rahala, should we be discussing both? Oh, one is a resolution. Okay. Nope, I'm looking at the wrong thing.
So they're both ordinances, but they'll be separate public hearings.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
I move to.
We are still in the public hearing. So we do have public comment. That's for agenda number 9. So we don't have any public comment, I believe, for agenda number 8 for in-person. Mr. Vang, are there any phone callers in the queue or anyone wishing to comment by video for item number 8?
There are no callers, Mayor.
Okay, thank you so much. So there is no response to testimony, and I will close the public hearing. And now we will have council consideration of ordinance 24-07. Are there any questions or comments regarding the ordinance on hardscape? Yes, Councilor Schlack.
Thank you, Mayor Lube. I know we're discussing both ordinances separately, and I want to honor that, but upon reading them, I did question, since they're both related to the same topic, them having different effective dates, and just sort of how those two, these two ordinances having different timelines could, how they could, what am I trying to say here? How they would interact with each other potentially. Nothing necessarily that would prevent me from taking a decision, but just something that crossed my mind that I wanted to put before the council.
Yes, so the ordinance before you at this time was not an emergency ordinance. An emergency ordinance is defined as having health and safety impacts. And so the hardscape, while a change that we would like to make, was not, did not create health and safety impacts, whereas the emergency ordinance that is coming later this evening will. We don't believe that there will be any adverse interaction between the two having different effective dates.
Thank you for addressing that and providing more information about an emergency ordinance versus a non-emergency ordinance. I appreciate that.
Are there any additional questions or comments or a motion on ordinance 24-07?
Just wanted to make sure I got the correct one. I move to approve ordinance number 24-07.
I second the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the city recorder please read the number and title of the ordinance?
Ordinance number 24-07, an ordinance amending Tigard Municipal Code, Chapter 7.80 to prohibit camping on hardscape surfaces.
Thank you. Will the deputy city recorder please conduct a roll call vote, starting with youth counselor for an advisory vote?
Youth Councilor Manini?
Aye.
Council President Hu?
Yes.
Mayor Lube?
Yes.
Councilor Schlack?
Yes.
And Councilor Wolf?
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance number 24-07 is adopted by unanimous vote of the council president. Almost did it again. Today on our non-agenda items, we have the addition of the emergency addition, which is a public hearing of a continuation of item number 8, which is an ordinance amending TMC 7.80 to prohibit camping on hardscape surfaces. And I will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to testify by phone or video, please call in at 503-966-4101 or log in to video to get into the queue. And anyone who wants to sign up, there is a sign up sheet at the back of the room, and you can still sign up if you haven't already. And we will go to City Attorney Rahala for the presentation. Nope, Kim Ezell.
Hello again, Council. And I'd like to invite Police Chief McDonald up to the, he's presenting with me this evening. So some background on time, place, manner. Like I mentioned in the previous item, time, place, manner is something that we've been continuously refining. And just for public's knowledge, a year ago, we brought the original time, place, manner ordinance in front of you. At the time, all cities in Oregon were looking at similar ordinances at the same time, and we all recognized that we didn't know what we didn't know, and that we were going to need to make significant changes along the way. Other cities in Oregon have continued to do that, and you as council made the wise decision to even require that we come back before council every 6 months to review. So when we made those decisions a year ago, based on the best information that we had, we allowed camping at all 3 city properties. Based on some recent behaviors that we have been seeing, we've come forward with a new recommendation for how to amend time, place, manner to best work for the entire community. So some of those behaviors that we've been seeing at the library, we believe pose a significant risk to children and families who are using the library services. And so we've recommended several changes. The first being to prohibit camping at the library effective next Monday. The second, prohibiting camping at City Hall, as well as creating a 350-foot buffer around City Hall before the closest camping. This will effectively create the only camping site available in Tigard for our unsheltered community members, as about half of the Public Works lawn along Hall Boulevard. We have been working closely with Just Compassion on this implementation. One of our key efforts has been communicating that we are going to be seeing significant changes in how time, place, manner works and how it's enforced. I want to turn it over to Commander McDonald to talk a little bit about how implementation will go forward. Chief McDonald, I'm sorry.
It's not just me today.
I know, I'm demoting people left and right. To talk a little bit about how we're planning on implementing next week.
Thank you, Kim. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jamie McDonald, your police chief. Yes, so we recognize that this is a significant change for those that have been using the location of the library to camp at night. And one of the ways that we're going to do this is begin messaging immediately and working in conjunction with our community providers to message the services that they have additionally, but also letting people know that it's not just that they can't camp anywhere, that there is a location that Kim mentioned over at Public Works, which is currently available as a site. It's that location is already available for people to camp at. We actually have the restroom facility there. There's a trash facility already there. We'll plan to bolster that, so we have additional trash facilities. It just is not utilized near as often as the library space. And the reason for the buffer around the City Hall property is in anticipation of the safe lots that's coming up. So that's because of the language in there. Originally, the language was going to be a 500-foot buffer around safe lots, but recognizing that that would basically prohibit almost the entirety of the Public Works location, we gave some thoughtful consideration to how much could we do to reduce that so we could still do safe lots in the proposed location here at City Hall and also still be providing something that is accessible for those that need a place to stay. They're unfortunate enough to be living outside. So we'll start with communicating this week with people that these are the changes that are taking effect. They don't have to stay at the library. They could move immediately if they chose to over to the new location. So it doesn't mean that on Monday it just there's this automatic change. People could choose to move. They can choose to take some of the that extra time to be able to move. We're going to provide some additional like a dumpster that if there's additional trash that people want to get rid of as they're getting ready to move their location, that'll be available for them to be able to use. And then also approaching it in the same way as we always do, as our officers do when we're working with those that are unhoused, is doing it with compassion, dignity, and respect with those that are in that situation. So recognizing that this is a significant change for those that have been seeing that, we're going to approach it in that way. And then we'll make it clear what the expectations are moving forward. And that will be to go, with the rules surrounding time, place, and manner, and the time restrictions that are in there, based on what the original code said from a year ago in terms of the times that are allotted.
Okay, thank you so much. If you want to vacate that area, we do have people signed up for public testimony. The first person, written public comments. We had one comment from Michael Antonelli in regards to camping at the library for this particular issue. For Mr. Vang, are there any phone callers in the queue or anyone wishing to testify by video?
No callers in the queue.
Okay, thank you so much. Can you go ahead and put up a timer just so we're consistent with our public comments? Thank you. And our first individual is Caleb Peterson. Welcome, Caleb. You have 2 minutes.
A common grievance I hear from people who are experiencing homelessness is the feeling that they are penalized for owning things simply because they lack stable housing. Living without a permanent home does not make someone less human, but it undeniably complicates their ability to live a stable life when they have no secure place to store their belongings. Under the Time, Place, Manner Ordinance, people must pack up their belongings by 9 a.m., regardless of the weather, which forces them to minimize their possessions to what they can carry throughout the day. This not only makes managing their daily life increasingly difficult, but it also makes them visibly homeless wherever they go, subjecting them to discrimination and judgment from a majority of the public spaces and businesses they utilize. The reality is that there is simply not enough shelter available for everyone who is unhoused. The promise that resources such as storage options and additional shelter will eventually be available falls short when we continue to actively impose increasingly restrictive time, place, manner ordinances. Without the alternative resources available, imposing stricter regulations on the unhoused community only serves to push people deeper into the cycle of chronic homelessness. I urge the council to consider these challenges and support initiatives that provide practical, compassionate solutions for those experiencing housing insecurity in our community. Thank you for your attention and consideration to this highly complicated matter.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. The next individual is Ralph Burton. Oh, okay. So CJ Reese Harvey, if you want to come on up, and then we'll ask for Ralph when he comes back. Welcome.
Hi.
You have 2 minutes.
I just wanted to acknowledge the fact of, like, if you, with the little lot that you have there and a lot of people surrounding by more people, you're basically taking away the stability of the enclosure, of feeling like they can actually go somewhere feeling safe without actually having people they don't know and they don't trust, they know and they can't trust. I'm one of those people that have really bad social anxiety, where after work, all I want to do is come home and go into where I call home, which is my tent, and just, stay away from everyone. But with you guys putting everyone and crammed everyone in that little lot, it causes more friction that will cause more and more issues throughout the city. And with everything about that, I rather take it into consideration and think about that, because you're putting people at risk for wanting to cram all the homelessness into one little area, which yes, it's nice and all, but like with people that have really bad issues, I'm stuttering because of my anxiety. But it's the fact of it's going to cause more issues, it's going to cause more friction and stuff like that. And with person like veterans and stuff, they don't want to be around people. They had to basically sit there and be around people all their lives, and next thing you know, you want to sit there and take that away. It makes people makes them feel unsafe. Thank you.
Thank you, CJ. Were you able, I saw you run outside. Did you go outside?
Yeah, he ran outside to take it.
Well, no, I'm sorry. I was talking to the gentleman. Okay. All right. So Ralph Burton is not here. I don't see him. Is there any response by our city teammates to the testimony, Kim?
Just appreciate the community's testimony and their weighing in on this very complex topic.
Thank you. I will give one last look to see. Okay, so I will close the public hearing, and now there is council consideration of ordinance 24-08. And again, as we continue to have all of these conversations, I want to center the fact that this is a really challenging conversation that we are trying to find our way through along with other cities. And I appreciate the city team really understanding that the challenges have escalated recently and continuing to center safety for our community members trying to visit the library, centering safety for our community members who are unhoused and trying to sleep as well with, potentially sort of dangerous situations, which is why it's the emergency ordinance. So I will open it up to questions, comments, consideration. Yeah, Councilor Wolf.
Thank you, Mayor. And I probably don't have anything different to add from your summary. I mean, I do recall a year ago, right? And we really spent a lot of time to do this in recognition of the need for space, to be mindful. We extended our time, place, and manner beyond what a lot of our neighbors did to try to provide that. I've had the opportunity to be with our officers who truly do work with compassion, dignity, and respect. But as it's been brought forward as an emergency ordinance and to the behaviors that are at risk to our community and to our children, I think we're moving forward with the best choice. And I really appreciate, CJ, your concern. I mean, we're down to a very small space and we are landlocked without a lot of great options. And so I hope that our continued conversations with Just Compassion, how we address this, and to ensure that behaviors are what they need to be and appropriate. And it's just incredibly difficult, but I appreciate, Kim, just your constant work, and I know just your important work to do what's right for all community members. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Council President Hu.
Thank you, Mayor and Councilor Wolf, and thank you, Kim, for here. I guess I'm also going back to about a year ago when we have to, set this difficult guideline for camping, and I mean, I usually don't respond to comments directly, but I just want to respond to the critic that's saying that it is an embarrassment that the city is setting this liberal camping rule, and that just really bugs me because, houselessness is not a liberal or conservative issue. It's a human issue. We're dealing with real human here. So, we are all struggling with the best we can. And at the time, I'm actually not embarrassed by the city having library at the first place because I believe that was a compassionate choice. We made the purpose, we purposefully picked library because my understanding is that it provides services to those, who are the most vulnerable of our population. And also, like one person just testified, it offered privacy, which some of our people of special, really special need really require. So I'm not embarrassed on the record. I'm not embarrassed that the city picked library as the location. I'm proud that we are a compassionate society, and these are real human problems. So to those people who say this is a conservative or liberal issues, I say this is a human issue, and we need to stand together and find a solution forward. But having said all that, I understand that every time we make this kind of policy, it's a balance between being compassionate and serving the greater need of our community member. And it's obvious that we are facing substantial issue at the library recently, and it just broke my heart that we have to come to this. And I really do not want to do this, but I feel like I have no choice. But so I have to support this. And I really, to those people who say, we can just ban camping altogether, and they should educate themselves on our Oregon law requirement that we have to come up with reasonable time, place, manner ordinances. And even if we don't, I personally, I think it's inhumane to ban camping altogether. We need to protect those who are the most vulnerable, and that's my job as a city councilor. Anyway, I will get off my soapbox and just say thank you, Kim, for your great work on this. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for taking care our most vulnerable member, and thank you for taking our community. Thank you.
Councillor Shack?
Thank you, Mayor Lube. I'd like to second the comments from Councillor Wolf and Council President Hu regarding this measure. I am still fairly new to the council at this point and haven't been part of all the council discussions coming up to this point. But as liaison to the library board and getting up to speed with the library, I recognize it's a really critical facility and service for every member of our community, and not just people within the city limits of Tigard, but surrounding Tigard. And I think, it's a tough situation that we're in right now, but it's important to make sure that that facility continues to be available for all community members and welcoming for all community members. So I am going to be supporting this ordinance.
Thank you. I want to echo a lot of the comments here and also talk about the fact that this ordinance is banning the sleeping at the library, but it doesn't mean that every community member isn't still welcome. The library is one of the very only places you can go that doesn't charge admission to be inside and to have a place and to have clean restrooms and excellent resources, computers, books, whatever, wonderful librarians. And so it doesn't mean that our houseless community is completely banned from the facilities. And it will be my ask. I am supporting this ordinance, I think, because of the increase in risky and dangerous behavior, but to continue not to wait 6 months to come back to us and let us know how it's going at Public Works and how it's going on the lot as we continue having a multitude of different conversations, because this isn't, camping isn't the only way that we're addressing houselessness. If you want, Kim did an excellent, thorough, long presentation that I'm sure we're going to get again soon to talk about all of the different ways the city is trying to tackle it and management from the federal level all the way down to the city level, using all of our resources possible and leveraging every relationship possible to try and come at this from every possible angle. So I wanted to add that as well. Youth Councilor, did you have anything to add? I just know you're the only one who hasn't spoken. I don't want to put you on the spot.
I suppose I'm just going to mirror everyone else's by saying I do use the library frequently, so I can see how great of a resource it is. And I came to another council meeting last year before I was youth city councilor, and I saw the importance and dignity and just the respect that this was held when you were discussing the time, place ordinance. And I really respect that, and I'm glad that I get to be a part of it, I guess.
Thank you. Is there any further questions or comments or a motion on ordinance number 24-08? Oh, do we, I want to address, I apologize. I want to address the person who called in. I forgot, I didn't write down their name, requesting a date change. I understand the reason for the request. I have no interest in moving the date simply because of the risk associated with it. If it were just us making a change and not a big deal, I think that's one thing. But I think the risky behavior warrants the date that was chosen by our city teammates. So with that, is there a motion?
Mayor Lube, I move to approve ordinance number 24-08.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the Deputy City Recorder please read the number and title of the ordinance?
Ordinance number 24-08, an ordinance amending Tigard Municipal Code Chapter 7.80 to prohibit camping on certain city properties and declaring an emergency.
Will the Deputy City Recorder please conduct a roll call vote, starting with Youth Councilor Mainini for an advisory vote?
Youth Councilor Mainini?
Yes.
Council President Hu?
Yes.
Mayor Lube?
Yes.
Councilor Schlack?
Yes.
And Councilor Wolf?
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 24-08 is adopted by unanimous vote of the council present. We have no executive session and no additional non-agenda items. I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you so much. Good night, Tigard.